We're going to talk about Charles Dickens first, because Charles Dickens has done so much to create the image of Christmas that is in our mind. Today, is he ready to go? Excellent. So today I have Dr. Dwight Lindley. He teaches Victorian literature in the English department at Hillsdale College. He instructs about the works of Charles Dickens as well as other authors of the time. He got his PhD in literature from the Institute of Philosophic Studies at the University of Dallas. He is a member of the North American Victorian Studies Association. Dr. Lindley, are you there? There you are.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I know it's Christmas time and everybody's busy. So I want to talk about Charles Dickens. I mean, he is one of my favorite authors, and A Christmas Carol to me is one of the great works of wisdom literature, one of the few works of wisdom literature where we can identify an author. Dickens really did create a lot of what we think about Christmas, didn't he?
I think that's right. I think he's sometimes spoken of as the inventor of Christmas, and there's a new movie out with this title right now. I think he didn't invent everything about it, but he had a very focused vision for what he thought it should be, and he imaginatively really charged his society and all of us with that vision. So I think he's really left his imprint.
Do you know does anybody know what the source of that vision was?
Sure, it's complex, but I would argue it's a fundamentally Christian vision, something that he was inspired by. He was inspired to try to return imaginatively into his English readers, but in a new way that wouldn't just simply repeat the words of the Gospels, regarding the incarnation and the miracle of Christmas, but would kind of represent it within the context of London, Victorian London.
So he was kind of modernizing the idea of the Gospels into the world that his readers were living in.
That's right. I think so. I think he wanted to be very palpable and kind of incarnated in his world, if you want.
Now, how did he come to write A Christmas Carol? What was happening to him when he turned to that?
Sure. It was 1843, and he was already a well-known author, not kind of magnificently successful as he would become later, but he was well known, and he was hard up. He was in debt and needed some money quick, so he wrote this story, and it's one of these things where a felicitous occasion presents this possibility of saying something amazing. He wasn't planning to write this book, but then he had to, and so he did it. Something amazing comes out of that.
He did it for the dough. He was hard up.
Oh yeah. I mean, Samuel Johnson, Dr. Johnson said 100 years before that, it's a fool who works for anything but money. Now we could exaggerate that, but Dickens was definitely working for money.
Yeah.
What I would just say is that, in spite of that fact, or just along with that fact, is the fact that he's saying this elicited something really profound from him, which then really became like a major fascination and kind of almost philosophy for him for the rest of his life. This was a really important book for him.
For him too,
personally. Yeah.
And did people recognize the book when it came out? I mean, did they like it? Was it an immediate hit?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was he printed something like 6,000 copies of it at first, and it sold out almost immediately. Wow. He had to hurry up and print more. It was immediately popular.
So talk about, you were saying that this affected him. Talk about why you think this book is so. I mean, it's been made into a movie maybe 1,000,000 times. There almost is outside of the Gospels, and maybe How the Grinch Stole Christmas. There almost is no other Christmas story that you can revisit like this. What is it about this story that affected him and that affects everybody so much?
Sure, sure. I've thought about this before. Why is it so striking, and why do we want to hear it again? One thing I think is that he's responding to a basic desire in Western readers, which is at Christmas time to have some kind of meaningful encounter with transcendence, with a world that's beyond ours, which nevertheless comes close to ours and charges it with meaning. You know, that's what the incarnation is. That's what the nativity, the Christmas story is. And so that's in the water in the West. And Dickens responds to that in his stories. I mean, in this story, he brings that other world close to to his world, to our world even, and and charge it and has it charge this world, his world, with significance and meaning and moral value.
And you said,
I think we want that.
I think so. I'm sure we do. You said that it affected him. I'm not sure I'd ever heard that before. How do you feel it affected Dickens?
Oh, yeah. So in later years, after he wrote the Christmas Carol, A Christmas Carol, he would look back and refer to it as underlining his. Let's see, what did he call it? I think he called it his carol philosophy. He was like, this is, for him, he wasn't a philosopher, right? He wasn't a theorist or something, but he thought that this story caught up the things that were most important to him, and they keep on coming up in all of his books after this. What I mean is, especially one, the importance of children and the poor, and how they are they're special ultimately to God, but they're kind of like, they have a fundamental importance in a society, the least of these, right?
Yeah. Well,
Fundamentally important for Dickens in all of his subsequent books, and he really kind of brought that to the fore here in this book.
Interesting.
And then the second part, sorry, and then I'll be done, is he thought we each have a fundamental capacity for personal change, for conversion, right? And so that happens with Scrooge, obviously, but he believed that was at the heart of what it means to be a human. You have a capacity to change. You have freedom. It's a drama. It's amazing, you know. And
that effect, you know, that's so interesting, because what it really plays into what you said before, the idea of suffer the little children to come unto me, and giving to the poor, and repent and change, metanoia in the Bible, all that stuff. He basically brought the gospel into Victorian England, and in doing that, he kind of brought Victorian England to us, because we're still living in that story.
That's right. No, that's right. It's so beautiful.
It is.
We want to stay there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Dr. Dwight Lindley of Hillsdale College, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a Merry Christmas.
My pleasure. Merry Christmas, Andrew.
Bye.
Bye.
Just remarkable that basically Dickens had to write his own gospel, and they called it the fifth gospel when it was published. He had to write his own gospel to learn the gospel. I think that's so typical of an artist, that he has to recreate the world.